Welcome to the first part of the video. At this part, I will be talking about the functionality and the user experience of Volumify. And in the second one, Barish will be talking about how the application actually works and the technologies that we've used. Alright, let's get started. So, this is the first page that the user will see, the sign up page. Let's create a hypothetical user named Joe, let's say. The username is Joe, password is also Joe, and the email address is joe@gmail.com. Alright, let's click sign up. So any user named Joe should appear right here, right? So the username is Joe, user ID is 50, email is joe@gmail.com, and the password is encrypted. Okay, let's log in now. So this is the home page. Here there are different genres. By clicking on, let's say jazz for example, the songs of that genre will appear on the screen, and by clicking them you can listen them. Just like this. So by clicking that button, you can start or stop the music. By those buttons, you can fast forward or rewind the music. It's because of the internet connection is kind of bad, alright. And obviously with that button right here, you can adjust or down the music volume. Yep. So those are the three songs belong to the genre of jazz. Everyone is working. This is pretty much it about the genres part. Now let's take a look at the profile page. At this page, the user can see his or her information and edit them. As you can see, user ID is 50, username Joe, and email is joe@gmail.com. The other information is null for now, as you can see right here. So let's try to update those information. Gender, let's say male, and age is, I don't know, 30. Country, let's say USA. And the phone number, I'm just gonna randomly click the numbers. Yeah. Okay. As you can see, all working. There is also a search page. At this page, user can search for different musics by entering a keyword. Let's say, let's search for the songs containing the letter A, for example. So those are the songs containing the letter A: Holly Peace, Hanger 19, What a Horrible World, and Grapes. Let's try to run them. As you can see, it's all well. All of them are running. And there is also tiny heart-shaped buttons on the left side. Those buttons are to bookmark or like the song by clicking them. So they will appear in the library page. As you can see now, all of the page is empty. Let me search for letter A again, and let's like those songs. Now they should appear in the library page. And here they are. Alright, there is one last thing before going to the uploading music that I'd like to show you guys. So this is the friend tab. Here the user can search for different users. By clicking on he can list all of the active users, or he can just look for a keyword like Dave, let's say. As you can see, Dave Sustain appears right here. And by clicking that tiny plus button, he can send a friendship request to Dave Sustain. Let's do that. So a friendship request has been sent to Dave Sustain. So now let's log in as Dave Sustain and see if he gets that request. Dave Sustain, and the password is also Dave Sustain. Alright, this is the friends tab. Yep, as you can see, the user Joe sent you a friendship request. I'm just gonna accept that. Oh, as you can see, a new friend with the ID of 50, which is Joe's user ID, appears on the friends part. Okay, so if you notice, there is one extra page here, my music tab. This appears here because Dave is an artist while Joe wasn't. This is why Joe didn't have that part. So by clicking that page, the user can show the albums he got, which albums he created. So Dave Sustain has two albums right now, Megadeth and Apple. By clicking those albums, you can see the information of that album, the song, the album name, the year, and the songs inside of it. And by clicking that, we can add new songs. to that album that he previously created. Also, by clicking that bottom right here, create album, he can create new albums. Let's give it a shot. Enter the album name. I don't know. Let's say New York. The year is 1999. And the album cover, I already opened a photo for that. It should be here somewhere. Where was it? Ah, here it is. I'm just gonna get that image URL and click create. Yep. So a new album should appear on the albums list. Yep, here it is. Album name New York, artist ID 45, album ID 33. Okay, and here's the image source. So right now all we gotta do to the left is to add songs inside that album. So to the first song, let's say, I don't know, I love New York. Enter the music source. I already got a music right here. I'm just gonna copy the path and paste it. And the genre is heavy metal. Okay. By clicking create, a new song should be being created. Let's check the songs table. Yep, here it is. Song name I love New York. Song sources here. Alright. If the user wants to create some extra music inside an album, he can keep repeating the same process that we did right now. But one song is more than enough for now. I'm just gonna click done, and as you can see, the new album appears on the right side of the screen. Let's try to search for that song inside of it. I love New York, right? Search, and I'm just gonna write down NA. As you can see, it is right here, and it's working. Alright, that's pretty much it. There is one last thing that I'd like to show you for leaving the stage for Badish. So, once again, I'm gonna log in as Joe. What I'd like to show you is to how to upgrade the account from regular user account to an artist account. As you can see, there is no My Music tab right here, which means that Joe is a regular user. So by moving to the profile, as you can see, there is a writing here saying that I want to be an artist, and there is another button saying become one. By clicking that, and simply by choosing a new artist name, let's say Joe the musician, right, and press create. Yep. As you can see, now Joe is an artist. And just like Dave Sustain, he got a My Music tab, and here he can create albums and add new songs to them. Before ending the video, there is one lesson that I'd like to show you. I almost forgot about that. Right now we are in Joe's profile. I'm just gonna sign out, and sign in is Dave Sustain again. Copy and paste it, alright. And I'm gonna click Joe's profile. Now, as you can see, when I'm gonna click on the Joe's user ID, it will direct the page containing Joe's profile information. You can see his user ID, his username, and also you can see the songs he likes. And now you click on them, they work, just like usual. Yeah. Now, I'll leave the stage for Barış.
Today I'm gonna show you the part 2 of our projects. So to start with, we get into our Volumify app, the folder of our Volumify app, and to start our application we just type npm run dev, which is a feature of our server by running concurrently the backend and the frontend. And our node 1 is running, so our server is always running. So yeah, here we can get into our application easily. And before we get into the application, I want to talk about the backend. So we have models. In the models, we get our database with our user, with the host, which is localhost, and with our passwords, which is simply passwords, and the name of our database in MySQL. So our server use cores, and it listens the user, which is the route. So our route includes every function in our controller's app and gives them an exact route so we can access it easily. And in our controllers, we have all of the functions that we need. And here we contact our MySQL database with all of these functions, and we use Postman to test our functions. So for example, to get the users, we use the users const, and if we send a request to the server, we get all of the users in our Postman, and we can do all the CRUD operations to get, post, put, and delete. So besides that, we use two different libraries, JSON Web Token and bcrypt. So what they does is when we create a user, we have to encrypt the password so that our password, we don't save the raw password to our database. We want to save the encrypted password. So here in bcrypt, we hash our password with the salt rounds and then save it to the database. And yeah, as we see, we initiate the salt rounds like this. And with JSON Web Token, when we log into the application, we just have to give the user a token so that our backend and frontend understand which user is in the application. So if you look at our login function, here we can see that if the password is correct, we just compare it with bcrypt library, and then we give it an access token. With JWT, we sign the access token with the username, user ID, artist, boolean, and our access token secret, which is simply secret. So when we get into our app, I want to show a demonstration of a login. So when we log in with the user Joe with the password Joe, we get the response, user ID, and the artist. And in the response, we have our token. So when we get into the JWT, we can just decode the access token and so when we decode the access token, we get the username Joe, the user ID, and the artist boolean. If the artist boolean is 1, it means that it's an artist, and issue that, which means that which time it was issued at. And here we can see it's 4:38 and the time is 4:39, so we can see at which time the user logged in. And here the front end understands which user is inside, and it shows its profile and all the different functionality. And I want to talk lastly about the database, which is MySQL. So in MySQL Workbench, we have to log into the root user, and then we open our editor, and here in the schemas we can see our Volumify database and the tables. And to start with the albums, we have the album ID as the primary key, and the artist ID, album name, year, and image source. And the artist, we just store the artist ID and the artist name. And in the friend request, it's a bit complicated. So when we start a friend request to one of the other users in the application, we get the sender user's ID and the receiver user's ID, which receives the request, and the approval boolean value. So if the approval is 1, we just simply put it into the friends as the sender ID and the receiver ID. And they're both composite primary keys, the sender ID and the receiver ID. So in the friend request, there's sender ID, receiver ID, and the approval. And here, sender ID and receiver ID are both primary keys in both tables. And in genres, we have the genre ID and the hard-coded genre names and the image sources. And in the liked songs, we have the user ID, song ID. This is also a composite primary key because one user can like more than one songs at the same time. So here we can see that user ID 50 liked song with IDs 44, 45, 46, and 51. So if you look at the songs, we have the song ID as the primary key, album ID as the foreign key, and song name, genre ID as the foreign key as well, and the song source, which is the source of our MP3 file. And in the users, we have the user ID as the primary key, we have username, email, password, all of the login credentials, and we have the gender, age, country, and phone, which are available in the edit page. And we have our artist boolean. If the artist boolean is 1, it means that this user is an artist. So if it's null, it means that it's not an artist. So that's all for the second part of the presentation. Thank you for listening to me.